All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Midweek Gaming. I'm Nick. Over on the comms over there is Justin. Full disclaimer before we start doing anything. This will be covering well, technically last week's content as of this recording, because technically tomorrow is Destiny Reset for the story. So technically, we'll be covering the last week's contents, which is big spoiler territory. If you haven't heard, if you follow Destiny, you probably have at this point. But full disclaimer: some big stuff happens this week, so if you haven't done this, like the story content for week, what was it? Hold on, please. Wrong area. Week 4. If you haven't done the stuff for that, don't watch this video. Go do that. Come back. We'll wait. Pause the video. One sec. Okay, you good? Okay, we're good. So,
Cringe.
hey, I have to be specific with this stuff, you know.
Cringe. We'll pause the
Shush.
video right here for you.
Hey, shush. This is technically required. Let it not be said
That's
I didn't
it's
put
not
some.
required. It is your choice on whether or not you do the content or not. If you willingly or you willingly ignore story or anything for 3 or more weeks, that's on you. So be
Okay,
warned. This is your one and only warning for future note. If you go out of your way and ignore every little thing you can so that you can experience it yourself, note that the longer you wait, the more you risk spoilers.
he might not care, but I do, so ignore him. We're moving on now. We have to be thorough, you know. Care for the
It
audience,
it
you know.
is it is a week. It is a week, and I'll give you that. You could be a week or
Hey,
two behind. But
in
no, like I
fairness,
said, it is true when I say the longer you wait, the more risk you put yourself into it being spoiled.
you haven't played this week's stuff either, so how much position are you in to talk? But
Yeah, and I
anyways,
don't care because I haven't actually spoiled myself of anything.
well, some people might. You never know.
Some people might.
So, anyways, unfortunately, I kind of lied last week. I promised more uplifting content because now we're going to cover the content. Um, this is not really all that uplifting. You'll see what I mean in a minute. But there is some stuff that happens this week which it took me way by surprise, though in retrospect, I suppose it was kind of billboarded. You'll see what I mean in it. Oh, should I say it now? That might as well.
I mean, technically we talked about it like the very first, like you'll know what I mean when we get into it later, but
Yeah,
yeah.
jumping the gun here. So let's just kind of start from the beginning of this week. So we're going to cover, like I said, week's 4 content, which is going to be the spoiler, like I said, story, spoiler. Going to be some big stuff, but we'll cover that when we get to it. Apologies also in the side note if you kind of hear an echo effect from the game on my end. I'm once again playing this on my PS5 because I do not have Lightfall on my PC just yet. So there might be a little bit of an echo effect here. Apologies if you hear that. Anyways, I will
Progress.
leave and just aid
I
you with
meant
the
to ask,
cutscenes.
how you handling all this Queen's Guard stuff? Only thing that's changed for me is that Crow bowed and asked if he should call me Lady Amanda of Holiday. I told him to call me whatever he wants. I'm just glad he's finally recognizing my natural authority. Anyway, I like how things have been shaking out lately. Tearing through magic planes to bust into a Shadow Legion ship uninvited. That's the kind of entrance Cade would have liked. Enough talk. Let's get back out there.
My authority. All right, so that's that.
I don't know if this is the most time efficient way of going about this, so we might just cut straight to the meat. So yeah, no, this week we'll be going over a specific story event that happens. We get another story mission this week. This is actually not another battleground because we've already gotten all 3 of the. Oh, do we? Do
Yeah,
we
it's all
want to?
three.
Yeah, no. I mean, do we want to call them battlegrounds or do we want to call them like?
I mean, they're
Or
called battlegrounds, so yes,
what are they officially listed as? Hold on. What are they officially listed?
battlegrounds.
Okay. Yeah, no, define. Okay, battlegrounds. So we've gotten all 3 of the battlegrounds this week. So you're probably wondering, what are we going to get? Oh, keep going, Justin. I'm just going to keep talking over it. Don't humor me. Just I'm trying to be time efficient here, bloody hell. But anyways, um, Regardless, so yeah, no, there are more stuff that comes this week. Like I said, we get the third Defiant Battlegrounds. We get Jailbreak, which is the new mission for this week, which is interesting. It'll involve us going to help Mithrax and helping Amanda in basically another jailbreak attempt. It is fairly standard at the beginning, but big things happen. I might as well just cut straight to the dark meat for the sake of time. Amanda dies.
Nope.
There, I warned you in the beginning. There, I just dropped the bombshell. Amanda dies in the end of the mission. And there is some interesting stuff that actually comes from this mission as well. For example, the mission opens up with Aramis straight up warning you that like things are going to happen, and either the witness or who's ever in charge of the operation at this point, because the witness bloody walked off to I don't know the Trendiga dimension, the triangular dimension, is things are going to happen. So there's also the question of like not only what will come of Amanda's death, but also the question of what will become of Aramis, because I mean she literally just basically warned us about stuff, and so that is kind of a direct betrayal of the witness. Will there be consequences for that? What do you think, Justin?
Maybe. Also, did you ever notice that there's like an entire fleet all the way up in the sky up there?
There is.
Yep.
Are you looking? We just jump over to you.
Look over to the Traveler Shard and look straight up.
Oh yeah, no, that's new. I did not notice that. Huh, go figure. That's probably more of like our model they have posted over Earth.
Yeah, it's like an entire fleet.
I'm glad I caught you.
That might actually be all the Cabal stuff, like the prison ships and stuff that we have to infiltrate. That might be them, actually.
Maybe.
The outpost is absolutely crawling with Shadow Legion.
But regardless.
I was surprised they
But yeah, no,
couldn't
Amanda dies this episode.
The odds are worse than
I feel like a
they
TV show. This episode,
those
but
two can
anyways.
take care of themselves.
But yeah, no. So Amanda Holiday unfortunately does die throughout the course of the mission. Bombs. You will see in a bit what I mean by that. Basically, Mithrax is fine. I feel like I'm pronouncing his name wrong there, but whatever. Mithrax barely makes it out. Aramis actually does show up to save his ass, kind of, and like stop the explosion from wounding him. So, like I said, there's also the question of what will become of Aramis now, because she did just legit betray the witness. Will she turn sides? Maybe. I don't know. There's also the question of, like I said, what will become of Holiday's
Our
death.
scanners picked up
There
a
is also
distress
a lot of
signal
stuff that
coming from a
happens
prison
in-
facility in the EDZ.
I moved my phone
We
away,
were
so
with
I'm
a
sure
new
I-
bunch of captives. Mithrax
Yep.
and I are fixing to break them out.
But again, what do you think this will come of, Justin?
That's where you
Well-
come in, Guardian.
Too deep into the specifics.
Well, I mean, besides Amanda being killed and what happened after the mission, it can be a very big implementation towards Crow's overall story. Fuck. Oh yeah, I wonder who that is. All right, I'll be back.
Kick down the front door while we
So
step in the
we'll
back.
just
Meet you inside.
I'll serenade you then. So much for being kind of patient.
I must speak with haste. Turn back now. This is not a fight you can win.
Here's the Aramis part I mentioned.
Cannot share fear with us, Aramis, for the light provides.
Leave these captives and live to see your great machine again. Pursue this quest, and you will die.
Mithrax?
The ship stealer is allied with the voice in the darkness.
So yeah, as you can see, Aramis did just kind of break radio silence to tell us something very bad is going to happen.
Here we do not yet see.
Something bad very much does happen. There's actually a
I'm not
Tormentor
leaving
boss
our
at the end of this.
people
That's a
behind, no
minor
matter
point.
what.
And I am with you.
In the end, obviously, it does affect Crow as badly as you can imagine it. Again, I'm kind of jumping the gun here because we haven't shown you any of that yet, but we will. But essentially, yeah, no. This is an interesting mission because it does leave the door open for a lot of avenues. The one issue here that we've kind of dealt with, and I think Vice touched on in his video, is that, like, after this, Crow is, like, he pissed, to put it bluntly. And I mean, I guess it makes sense, right? It makes sense that he would be. After, well, I mean, let's be honest, what do we call it? Is that a thing? Did that ship, you think, work, or
What do you mean?
the Amanda Crow ship? Are we gonna officially, like, declare that a thing?
I I would say it was technically a thing because at one point she was going to be giving Crow a gift, but then she found out that he was Aldrin, so...
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. It's like this relationship had always been touch and go from the start. Like they got to like they became good friends, and then they went from that. Then Amanda found out that he was actually Aldrin in his last life, which he pulled off when he showed his face to her, and she was good friends with Cade. That didn't go over well. She went and killed
Yeah.
Cade. There was a bit of reconciliation there in the end. They were starting to get back together in this cut, like they were starting to make amends in this, and then this happened. So, it is the question of like, I think even Bike, like I pointed this out in his video, or was it? I think it was Bike who pointed out, like, in the moment where we like see Aldrin or Crow extremely angry, we actually hear more of Aldrin than we do Crow in like the way he speaks. So it's like everyone's wondering, how will this affect Crow? There are several things that can come of this. Going back to another point Bike made, there hasn't really been an official villain for this season yet, because like I said, the Witness kind of, went off to the pyramid dimension. So we're not, it's not like we can go after the Witness just yet. So also the using of the Destiny 2 like music in this section I always enjoy. Not gonna lie. On a side note, this mission I truly do enjoy because it reuses that music, and I'm very much a fan of it. I won't lie, during my first playthrough of this mission, I was screaming bloody murder without knowing this mission.
Yep.
The thrill! But anyways. But yeah, so we go through this mission, all seems hunky-dory, and da-da-da-da-da. Interestingly enough, in the end, we do actually see a vigil with, that is attended by both, obviously, Crow, Amanda, not Amanda, obviously she's there, it's her funeral. Arsav is there, and Zavala is actually there in a really, arguably, almost poetic scene with him leaning over a corpse, which, again, like I said, considering last week's events, almost made that compounded in how tragic it is, but regardless. And, like I said, the question of how will this affect Crow is big on the table, right? We don't have an official villain for this season that we've seen so far. And there's a lot of questions this season still has. Like, what are the captives being, like, why is the Witness, or whoever's in charge at this point, taking captive? What is happening to the Shadow Legion? Because the lore implements that there's something weird going on with them at the moment. Outside of, working for the Witness. So there's a lot of questions on the table. Again, it feels weird. I almost struggle to talk about this because we've kind of jumped the gun a little bit here. Like, I don't know how. It's a very awkward video to do because we're talking about things almost before they happen. In this instance, so it's kind of hard to describe until you guys have seen it. But it is what it is. We cut through these guys here, which is always fun to do. Also, funny enough, we also see interesting bits of dialogue in the end that also kind of hint to Crow referring to the Hunters as his. So does that mean that we're going to finally see that Hunter Vanguard position get filled by Crow? I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows?
You have been very unhelpful this episode. I'm trying to use you as a punch.
No, yeah, like there's been a good number of times where Crow has referred to hunters as his hunters, those who follow him. So chances are there's been like some work towards that kind of thing.
So yeah, well we might finally see that Hunter Vanguard position. Interestingly enough, during the vigil for Amanda, Zavala's, like I said, sitting there and he's reciting the Guardian mantra, which, if memory serves, is devotion, bravery, and sacrifice, which is also the words of the speaker when it's like, that's again harkening way back to Destiny 2 Vanilla when Goal essentially asked the speaker, how do I become a Guardian, essentially? And the speaker essentially recited this mantra of devotion inspires bravery, bravery inspires sacrifice, and sacrifice leads to death. And then he just kind of drove a knife there to Goal where he's like, so feel free to kill yourself.
Yes.
But, coming back to more present tense, the fact that Zavala recites it over Amanda's body, essentially, and depending on how she, like, considering how she dies, which after this boss fight you will see, again, it is interesting that we're fighting a bunch of tormentors that I think are essentially clones of Nezarec. I think that's been soft confirmed at this point, because Osiris, like, this is the culmination between Callus's work and the Witnesses. I think there's also some odd dialogue from Neomuna, or one of its, like, I can't remember her name, the archivist on Neomuna, where she comments how the Tormentors have the same DNA as Nezarec. So I think it's kind of like soft confirmed that the Tormentors are clones of Nezarec. They're like lesser clones. But that's a side note. But yeah, the question there of like, will Amanda get brought back as a Guardian? There's been a lot of contention. Well, I mean, just going back before we even address that point, the very fact that Amanda dies in this way has already been somewhat contentious. Like, before we address any of the where could this go, which we kind of admittedly have already, we should probably address the opinion. Where do you stand on this, Justin?
What do you mean?
Oh my lord. Have you been listening this entire time?
I'm listening, but I'm asking you specifically. What do you mean by where do I stand by this?
How do you think, like, when considering how they killed off Amanda
Yeah.
and the way they did it, how do you think, like, was this the best way to go about doing it? Or you think they could
I
have
would
probably
say
done
for the character, yes. She's always been like a Cade-like character, always going deep into things and what's going on, and basically getting herself into trouble.
Mm.
So I'd say it fits a little like that.
You think they should have killed her off? That's another point we should probably raise. Like, you think that was a good idea in general?
Again, that's kind of something that you kind of have to wait and see what they have planned in order to really see. You can't just assume that it's gonna be good or bad.
Yeah, no, again, weirdly enough, again, circles back to what Vive said, where he's like, he'll have to reserve his judgment for this week, and I think we kind of in regard of, like, was killing her off in general a good idea or not? It will have to see, like, where, tomorrow when the story continues, presumably, hopefully at least, we might get to see where that will, like, how will that affect Crow? Will Amanda get brought back? There's a lot of things that could pull on here, and you'll have to kind of reserve the judgment of if this was a good move or not for, like, in the end. Overall, I'm not sure if this was a great idea. Like, I think it was just poorly done. Again,
Perhaps.
going back to the death of Lance Reddick as Zavala, that'll eventually mean Zavala will have to get written off. That was literally, I think, if not the week prior, literally a few days prior, and then this happens. So, like, I think it was just a poorly timed decision. But obviously, Bungie had no real say on that. That was just, bad luck. But I think it will, again, like I said, impact how does the story moving forward. Amanda's character, like, as a vendor, really has lost relevance for many years now. Like, she was the shipwright. I mean, yeah, story-wise, there's still a lot to do with that, but when it comes to vendors, she really hasn't, like, had much, shall we say, need to exist. So as a vendor, at least, I can see it, but again, it really depends. When it comes to the character, there are, like I said, several things you can go with it. She might get brought back as a Guardian, she might not. And again, that will really depend on, like, I've heard some people say that it's impossible because of the current state of the Traveler being whatever it is, AFK, I suppose.
And that's the thing, we don't really know what's going on with it because of the fact that we still have our powers like we normally do, so.
Yeah, I've heard people theorize that, like, the reason Guardians still have the light, based on, like, some odd voice lines from Ghost here and there on Neomuna and stuff, that it might be more of the case that, like, the only reason we still have the light is because the Traveler essentially is still radiating residue light from the time it was still alive. Like, I've heard, like, for example, defenders of this theory say, like, akin to Nezarec. Nezarec died centuries ago, and yet his body was still radiating darkness, powerful darkness at that, centuries after his death. So, when you upscale that to something like the Traveler, it could just be that there is still a lot of light there left to use. It's just that it is finite. Possible. Or who knows? Maybe there's not. Maybe that has. Or there's also the other theory where I've heard the other theory of maybe the fact that we still have the light is the fact that, now we're drawing it from a deeper source. It really depends on how you interpret Ghost's voice lines, because there is, like I said, a line in Niamuna where he basically states that it's different now and more exhausting to draw upon the light, like it's drawing from a deeper source. So the question is that a result of the Traveler just having residue light that we're drawing upon, or is that the result of us literally drawing light from, like, the primordial well of light somewhere? It really depends on how you interpret that line. And the reason, like I said, I bring this up is that will, again, impact on will Amanda be revived? Because I think partially the question of can Amanda be brought back as a Guardian will, again, depend on the state of the Traveler, right? How big is the Traveler's role, shall we say, in gifting the light? Because, I mean, typically speaking, the Traveler was AFK for years before Destiny 2, and it was already giving away the light, so again, it will depend on how much that process hinges on the Traveler, as well as a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
But even then, they said they could still feel the Traveler, so I don't know. So then there's another point that must be brought up, is, like, the Amanda we will get back, if it does happen, will not be Amanda. Guardian, it's a well-known fact that Guardians do not have memories of their past lives upon being revived. The only time you see, like, Lightbearers maintain their old names is if they're lucky enough to either be told their names, just short of them being resurrected, or, in the case of Anna Bray, they're lucky enough to kind of, like, literally have her ID on her in the case of Anna, which was really lucky in retrospect. Or, just by comparison. Also, this boss is chunky, not gonna lie.
Yep.
That might just be the fact that, like, tormentors are borderline enemies. But again, it will depend. What do you think, Justin? You think we'll probably, like, how do you think the relationship between Crow and Amanda will play out if Amanda's brought back as a Guardian?
I feel like it will be a mixture of, like, contempt a little bit, where it's like Crow will kind of get this weird feeling of seeing everyone treat her so kindly compared to how everyone's treated him. Like,
It's possible.
I feel like that's what the team would do if they were gonna bring her back. They would do that.
I honestly would disagree. Like, I think, like, he even learns when he's older, and, like, he immediately is like, yeah, I don't think I'd have told me either. So it's not like he doesn't understand why people didn't hate him. And I imagine it would probably be more of, like, a mentorship relationship, right? Like, him kind of teaching Amanda what it's like to be a Guardian now. And we will kind of see this cutscene now, so maybe we will pause our discussion until after we see this.
Locate our business. We are nearly ready for extraction.
Again, I imagine everyone who's watching this video knows what's going to happen, but it just feels weird to talk about it before it's technically happened on screen, so forgive the oddness.
Yes.
Not exactly the most time-efficient method of an episode, but we'll see.
Also, I find it interesting how she was here a little bit ago and now is gone.
Yeah, no, that's another point that people have raised, where it's like, we're in the next room. And, like, she just left, technically. And yet, we don't do anything. We're just kind of like, yeah, we're just like, oh yeah, no, this happened.
Yeah, we secured the hatch.
And then everything just kind of blows up. I mean, we literally know that if this were a Titan, they could just use Titan Bubble and she'd be fine. But whatever.
Quickly.
I don't think in a way... That's why I think some people are kind of, like, questioning Bungie's method of killing her off. Killing her off, like I said, will depend on what they want to do with it in the end. We'll have to reserve if it was a good idea in general until we see literally tomorrow, as of recording, like I said. But the method by which they killed her off, I think, is what people are questioning, because, like, in the next room, and let's be honest, Guardians have used, like, basically bubbles to defend people. I mean, going back again to Destiny 2, like, the beginning cutscene. We literally see Zavala like have everyone come to him and just use a bubble to like defend against a missile barrage. So I don't believe that the same logic wouldn't be able to apply to explosives.
Actually, it's outside.
There you
But
go.
We are safe.
you know.
All right. Silence for a moment.
Matters.
I warned you.
Then of course we just kind of saunter out.
Where's Amanda?
Amanda coming. Amanda. Are you there?
Well, there you go.
And you know, this is actually a very good point to touch on something I actually didn't think about at first. There was actually a growing good friendship between Amanda and Mithrax. And like I think Mithrax is almost just as pissed off as Crow about this whole situation.
Oh yeah, no, he is, because in the lore there's a number of times where he you can tell.
Yeah, no.
But
So that's
that's
interesting.
that's for another time perhaps.
Perhaps. And I think Mithrax is like able to console it a bit better.
Well,
Whereas I think Crow is, like I said, like hit way harder than anyone, obviously, because like I said, there was that almost romantic relationship there, which again, that again goes back to the idea of if Amanda does come back, she won't have any of her memories as Amanda or of their relationship. So that'll be interesting.
Yep.
I imagine if it does happen, it'll be less a time of resentment and more a time of just like almost sadness for him, right? But I mean, it's a well-known fact Guardians don't have their memories.
No.
So, and
It'll be
again,
an interesting thing to play out, but no matter what, if they do bring her back as a guardian, it's definitely for the most part going to be a Crow related thing
no, definitely. Should we go
for
to
his
the
story
memorial
arc.
service and just kind of play that out?
Yeah. Sure.
Might as well. So
We can quickly close off on that then.
yeah, close up on that then. There's again a lot of stuff that can come out of this. I'm tempted to see what'll happen because we know that Crow's now out looking for revenge. The only problem, like I keep bringing up throughout the episode, is like, who are we going to get revenge on at this point? The witness is gone. We don't know who's in charge at this point. Callus is dead. So there's not really many bosses left on the field that we know of, unless there's going to be like a secret disciple who comes out of the woodwork for approximately 4 minutes and then promptly gets killed. So
Yeah, we'll see.
we will see. And again, this will kind of cement what we're showing. So, oh, there it is. Oh, no way.
Devotion. Bravery. Sacrifice. Devotion. Bravery. Sacrifice.
Guardian, Zavala grieves, and Mithrax is recovering in the infirmary. How do you want to proceed?
We have to regroup. Bury Amanda. And put her killers in the ground.
They'll be expecting you.
Good.
Think with your head, not your heart. Grief is poor counsel.
And yours is better. Make arrangements for Amanda. The Guardian and I will handle it from here.
If that's your wish.
It is. I know you want it too. Vengeance. You'll be the first to know when it's time.
So yeah, there's that, and we just kind of leave Zavala here to grieve. If, like I said, this were any other day, I'd say Zavala would probably go through a period of mourning and then promptly go back to business as usual. He'd be devastated, obviously, but he'd probably, buckle up and deal with it. But with the whole business surrounding Lance Reddick, I'm not sure anymore what they're gonna do. And arguably, this is arguably a more tragic scene compounded by that very fact, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, going back to the point at hand, the fact that he utters devotion, bravery, and sacrifice repeatedly, again, it is that kind of homage to that's the creedon of the Guardians, right? That is how Guardians are chosen. For years, on a side note, we did not know what exactly the criteria of what exactly was the Traveler looking for until I think Destiny 2 came along and that mantra was uttered, and then it just kind of all clicked. The Traveler really only wants a person who can live up to those three credos, and all Guardians to some degree do. Arguably, even the Hive. Yes, Savathun did it too. It is what it is. um, again, it is. Well, I'm not sure about the Lucent Hive, but at least Savathun. But regardless, so the question of what will become of Amanda's death? Will she get brought back as a Guardian? How will that impact Crow? Both good and bad, I guess. In that case, she will probably not have her memories. Here's an actual point we were kind of talking about for the stream. What do you think, Justin? Do you think, because I imagine Crow, if he ever saw that, would probably tell her who she was. Do you think she would take up the Amanda Holiday mantra again, or do you think she'd kind of find something new?
She's quite a wild card, so that's the problem. It's hard to really tell on that front. Like, unlike Anna went and took on her name because she was obsessed with figuring out who she was and what her past was. I don't feel like Holiday would behave that way. Like, maybe she might go and take Holiday, like something Holiday or something, but it's hard to tell. Like,
I mean,
she's one of those characters where she's just go with the flow with it and just kind of do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine, there's not really been a case, to my knowledge, as a Destiny lore scholar, of a Guardian who's learned about their past name and is like, meh, deal with it.
Well, yeah, no, like, that's the thing. Like, chances are she's probably gonna take it, but then again, like, there is a slim chance that she might change.
The only exception that I think of to that rule is Crow, who kind of took up the name of Crow before he learned he was Aldrin, and then just kind of continued the name Crow to distance himself from Aldrin.
Mm-hmm.
Whom at the time he kind of, if you play Season of the Haunted, he even says that originally he viewed Aldrin, in retrospect, as a monster. And so he kind of distanced himself desperately from that mantra.
I have lived for
and he's kind of made peace with it now, so he's like, There's even one bit of dialogue where he's even talking about grief after Amanda's death, and he even says, an old friend on the Leviathan taught me the best way to deal with grief. And I'm not sure how he ends the line, but he goes, the best way to do an old friend on the Leviathan taught me the best way to deal with grief is just to accept it. So
yep,
most likely a reference to Aldrin, whom we saw the Phantom of on the Leviathan. So, that is interesting.
Yep.
We will see, like I said, her being a Guardian.
I mean, no matter what, right now we're in a state where we just have to see what they decide to do with it. Like, they're probably going to do something with it, but for right now we just have to sit back and see. But it's interesting to see what can come of it, because there's a lot of different things that they can go with it right now.
That's the thing. I've also heard a big statement where everyone's saying that they probably won't do that. And I think even Paul Tassi originally brought this up in his article about the thing, in his video about it, where he basically outright dismisses the idea of them doing that, because they already did that with Aldrin to Crow. Would they pull the same trick twice? That's kind of the big
that's right? Like what I said. Like, there is a valid reason as to why they would do it, that being Crow related, because you can go and explore a couple avenues that you can't really explore with just Crow alone. Like, there is the avenue of Holiday being seen by everyone as her past self, despite the fact that she has no memories or anything like it, and being treated so kindly and with such dignity by everyone. and Crow kind of seeing the like stock difference that he was treated and everything. Like that alone is one of the avenues that could be explored. So
It is certainly a possibility. I doubt it though, because that's the thing, right? Like Crow knew exactly from the beginning why they treated him bad, and even admitted that he probably would too, considering. But like, there is that big question of, again, they pulled basically the same plot line with Crow and Aldrin. Would they do that again with Amanda, but just in reverse? It does raise a question there of would they do it twice. There is something like, again, like Justin said, they could expound on the Crow story. Amanda was mortal at the end of the day. This could be just one long con by Destiny writers to continue the Crow Amanda ship by just making her immortal.
maybe.
But
No matter what, got to give it time and see where it goes with it.
yeah. Fun fact: this is actually an interesting point. I believe the character, the actress who plays Amanda, also plays Keitel. So, despite the fact that Amanda has been at
She
this point at least
plays
written
Keitel,
story,
and she also plays the one character on Leomuna that you go and talk to at the archives, like the Cloud Strider archive.
that I did not know. I know they reused several voice actors somewhere, but I did not know they reused her for that as well. I know she played Keitel.
Yeah,
Which,
no,
on the side note, can I just
they're
say, whoever's doing the sound work for Destiny, congratulations for making one actress's voice sound so different across 3 iterations. Or maybe that's the actress herself. I do not know. Whoever is responsible for that, well done.
there you go. All right,
But
well, any closing remarks then?
I don't know. Like, do we have like again? We'll have to wait and see. The question of killing off Amanda, they could have, it would have been an interesting choice. We'll have to see how it goes with it. The only real question, like I said, is, was how they killed her off right? Like the randomness of it all. There
Well, it
was
wasn't
certainly a lot of
entirely random, but
it wasn't entirely random, and we were talking about this before the stream. When you kind of read
like
some of the lore tabs from like even Season of the Seraph last, like before the expansion, it kind of almost foreshadowed her death. Like there's this one scene where Amanda's talking with one of the House of Splicer or House of Light representatives who she's kind of friends with. And it kind of gives us an interesting bit of story behind how the servitors work and how they're basically living records of all like the Elixni within a house that they belong to, and they have all these records, and the Elixni's like, I shall tell your story to our servitor, so even when you die, you can live on. So in retrospect, I guess it was kind of foreshadowed, but even so, right? Interesting point, also side point before we go. Some people making this reference throughout the course of the season, but you also actually see moments where Mara is attempting to be a good sister to Crow. She's trying to make amends. Trying to actually be a good sibling for once, which is a change for her. Never thought I'd say it, but I agree with Aldrin back on the Leviathan. She's turned over a new leaf, it would seem.
trying to at least.
Trying to, at least. Trying to.
All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah. One point that we did raise, and I think we will close out on, is you made an interesting point where one of the kind of parallels they can work with Crow is like the moment Mara had to see Crow as Crow and not as Aldrin, her brother. I feel like that would be an interesting, like, kind of point they could make for Crow and Amanda's relationship, and how Crow could kind of go through a similar thing with Amanda. And through some weird, twisted amalgamation of plot, that might also bring the two Sov siblings closer together again.
Yep.
So that's a point they could drop on. I don't know. I'm spitballing at this point. But anyways.
Yeah,
So
no,
yeah,
we made a couple ideas and theories throughout the videos, so there's that. You can only really speculate at the moment.
honestly.
All right. Well,
I said
hopefully
this
you
actual
all enjoyed.
out on, so I shall find peace next to Amanda by the commander, and I'll sign off here. Any closing remarks from you, Justin?
No, no. Hopefully you all enjoyed our little theory crafting for everything thus far, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yep. Hopefully, better, like, happier story next week. I promised a happier story last week, and Bungie proved me wrong. So
Well, this is
sorry?
potentially happier. We don't know yet. Like immediate happy, no. Potentially later happy, yes, maybe.
I'm just finding that so funny. This could be happy as I stare at a corpse.
Yes, but you never know. Could become guardian, could not. Maybe, maybe not.
And again,
Don't know.
as
You
we
have to give
touched
it
about,
time.
that will, yeah, and again, that will, like we touched on, maybe answer some questions as to what's happening with the traveler. So I don't know, maybe. Anyways, from all of us here at the farm, from me, Commander, and the spirit of Amanda, that actually worked. The commander, the spirit. That was so brilliant. Anyways, moving on. We wish you all a good week and happier week because things have not been very happy lately. Bye bye, everybody.